Okay, guys, let's turn some video monitors on if you don't mind. All right, so what'd you think? Understood it? Didn't understand it? Understood some of it? What do we think?
I understood some of it, but it was
Some
like
of
a couple of questions I didn't understand.
Okay. All right, so let's see. Is that the one? No, that's not it. Let's see. No, that's not it. Hold on. There we go. All right, so 6 things to go over. First part, it was just asking you to do the mean value theorem. They were just doing their best to write it in the most confusing way possible. So the problem says that you have a table up here for F prime stuff. So it says for F prime, the conditions of the mean value theorem are met on 0 to 3. Pause. So I'm going to draw a graph because it told me we're talking about mean value theorem. And if I'm talking about mean value theorem, then I'm thinking about this problem where we drew that curve. And it said it's from 0 to 3. All right, so we got that. And we said the conditions are met. So now, here's the whole key to this problem. It says for F prime. So you know how normally we compare these two slopes and it's the graph of whatever and then the derivative graph. It doesn't matter what this is the graph of. It's just you're comparing a regular slope to the next derivative of it. So all they're telling you is that this is the graph of F prime. Therefore, that spot where that meets and it makes it good, that's going to be your second derivative if the points they give us are the first derivative. So you could do this with whatever derivative you want and the next thing up, or the original graph and then the derivative, because that's the next thing up. So it doesn't really matter. So we know we're going from 0 to 3. And then what's it say on here? The conclusion of the mean value theorem over 0 to 3 for F prime of X is satisfied at 1. So I know that. We want to find F double prime. So if we're talking about the points here being a graph on F prime, we can use this box to look this up. So in other words, at 0, the corresponding point is -1. And you remember how we graph these incorrectly just to map them out. And at 3, we're at 4. So if I was to find the slope of this dashed line, that's going to be 4 minus -1 over 3 minus 0. So the slope of that line is 5/3. So what do you know about the slope of that tangent line? It's also got to be 5/3. Now, since we were talking about F prime and F double prime, this question's super easy. It's just a matter of reading through the gibberish. That means at that spot, the slope of that line is 5/3. So all you got to say is F double prime of 1 is equal to 5/3 because what? The function is differentiable and therefore continuous, or you could write because the conditions are met for the mean value theorem. Now, the only reason you can get away with that is because that's the wording they used in this question. Usually like 99 out of 100 times, it's going to be because the function's differentiable and therefore continuous. But I think in this case, you could say because the conditions are met for the MVT, and what do we know then? F prime of 3 minus F prime of 0 over 3 minus 0 is equal to 5/3. Okay, so I don't particularly like that question. I think they're just trying to confuse you, but it's still just the mean value theorem. Now, will you see something like that on the AP exam? I really doubt it, to be honest. but it's just kind of showing you the problem in a different way of saying it. Does anybody have any questions on part A?
Mr. Baker, can we infer like since f prime of c equals to fb minus fa over b minus a, then if double prime of c equals to f prime of b minus f prime of a over b prime minus a prime. I did it that way and I still got the same answer. So is that like the right sort of connection to make?
It sounds like mostly correct. Say that one more time. What'd you say?
So I said since f prime of c equals to f of a minus f of b over b minus a, then f double prime of c equals to f prime of b minus f prime of a over b prime negative minus a prime.
With you there, I think it's still just over b minus a though. I don't think you prime those bottom ones.
Yeah.
The prime is with that top part. So other than that, I think you're okay.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, again, that's just like weird notation on this question. If the idea of the mean value theorem makes sense, more than likely you're going to be just fine. I think that's a pretty weird way of writing that question. All right, let's see what else we got. All right, next up, we should have no trouble. Everybody in here should 100% have this one. So we're doing a right Riemann sum. Okay, so first thing you want to do is write the integral. So we're going to say the integral of f prime of x dx from 0 to 5. We're going to go approximately equal to. We need 3 subintervals, and we're doing what kind of Riemann sum? A right Riemann sum. So we're starting on the right. So what's the first gap going to be? Remember, the first gap is your x values, right? So if we're starting on the right-hand side, the first one would have a gap of 2 times 7 plus, moving on to the next one, 1 times 4 plus about 2 times 1, and you're done. And if you wrote them in a different order, as long as you get the same numbers, you'd be okay. But you don't need to do that math at all. You can just stop right there.
Isn't it 2 times negative 1? Since
Back off here on 2 times. No, it's a right Riemann sum, right? So we use the right. We start from the right. So the 3 heights are going to be 7, 4, 1. If it's at left Riemann sum, then we'd be getting involved with negative 1.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, guys, on the second one? All right. Part C. I thought this one was pretty straightforward. This is U-substitution. So we're going to write this out. Integral of from 2 to 3. Let's write our U stuff over here. So we're going to go U du dx. We're going to let U be equal to 2x minus 1. That makes du 2 dx, which makes dx du over 2. So that would be f double prime of u du over 2, but we've done so many of these now that you should just be comfortable making that a 1/2 out front. And now you're ready to integrate. If we integrate f double prime of u, we're going to get f prime of u. So this is 1/2, keep that separated from this, f prime of u from 2 to 3. Now we need to plug in for u. So this is 1/2 f prime of 2x minus 1 from 2 to 3 or 3 to 2, whatever. Okay, any questions to that point? Okay, so let's plug in. So this is 1/2 f prime of 5 minus f prime of 3. And you can't leave it like that. We got to look these up. But the good news is that's right off the table. That's in the box. We have that. F prime of 5 is 7. F prime of 3 is 4. got a 1/2 out front. Now you can leave it like that, but I think we can do that math, right? So I'm coming up with 3/2. Any questions on part C? Okay, part D. All right, now this one gets pretty wild. L'Hopital's rule. And this one's different in that they tell you right away that it can be evaluated using L'Hopital's rule. Therefore, you don't need to immediately plug in, and you don't have to show 0/0. They're telling you it's good. So you're okay there. So if they tell you point blank that you can use L'Hopital's rule, go ahead and use it. So for part D, we would say by L'Hopital's rule, just say what we're doing. All right, so what are we doing? How do we use it? We need to take the derivative of the top and bottom. So let's carefully try to do that. So the derivative of the top, just looking at the first piece, it's messy, but the rule for it is e to the stuff. The derivative of e to the stuff is e to the stuff times stuff prime. So let's just get e to the stuff down. E to the stuff times stuff prime. So now the question becomes like, just pause, take a deep breath, because it's messy. But if you go slow, you'll be fine. So just pull back and say, all right, what am I taking the derivative of? This part right up here. 6 gone. So what's the derivative of negative 2f of x? That's a composite. So it follows the trig rule. Trig prime, stuff prime is not necessary because that would just be times 1. If this was something else in there, you would need to multiply by stuff prime. Okay. Moving across to the next part, that one is going to be another composite. So we're going to write f triple prime of x squared times 2x. On the bottom, you've got f double prime of x. So I'm going to pause right there. And does anybody have any questions on how we took the derivative of the top or of the bottom? Okay, now a little notation piece. When you're doing L'Hopital's rule, you need to include the limit notation in front of every line of your math. So the limit as x goes to 0. Okay. Next up, what are we doing? We're plugging in 0. So we still say the limit as x goes to 0. All right, we're going to just toss it in everywhere. So this is 4e raised to the 6 minus 2 f is 0 times negative 2 f prime is 0 minus f triple prime of 0. You're probably asking, how do I find that? But then you go, oh, wait, I don't need to, because then it's going to be times 0, and that's going to get rid of it. All over f double prime of 0. Okay, so now we've just plugged in. So now we got to go hunt these things down. So f of 0, how do we find that? Remember, anytime you're not sure, check the opening paragraph. Strong chance they just tell it to you. F of 0 is 3. So f of 0 is 3. That makes that 6 minus 6. That makes this e to the 0. So now I have 4e to the 0 times, what do we got going on here? F prime is 0. How do we find f prime is 0? That's in the box. F prime is 0 is negative 1. So if this is negative 1 and that's negative 2, it's going to make it a 2. Over here, it's minus 0. On the bottom, then you probably say, whoa, f double prime of 0, I have no information for that. So that's where this problem kind of has a new twist. So does anybody have any questions up to that point? All I need to do now is go off to the side and figure out f double prime of 0. And when I figure that out, I'll be able to have an answer to my problem. So do we have any questions up to there? Okay, so side paper, scratch paper. How do we find f double prime of 0? It says from the beginning, L'Hopital's rule works for this problem. So what does that mean? It means if I plug in 0 to the original problem, the top is going to give me 0 and the bottom is going to give me 0. We can use that information to find things out. Here's what I mean by that. If you put a 0 into the top, that would be 4e to the 6 minus f of 0, 2f of 0, sorry, 6 minus e to the 4e to the 6 minus 2f of 0 minus f double prime of 0. This should catch your attention. That's what I was trying to solve for in this problem that we're working right now. I can solve for this and we'll get an answer. So if we go through this, that's going to be 4e, remember f of 0 is 3, so that makes that 0, minus f double prime of 0 is 0. That makes this 4 minus f double prime of 0 is 0. Solve it out. 4 equals f double prime of 0. So I'm able to go and solve for f double prime of 0. Does anybody have any questions on that piece of this problem? So using that, I now know that we got 4 on the bottom. So what's that give us for an answer? That's going to be e to the 0 is just 1. That's 8 over 4 is 2. And you're done. Any questions? Parts A, B, C, D.
Wait, how did you find the -2 f of x on the, I mean, when you plugged in 0, what was the value for f of 0?
F of 0 is in the opening paragraph. F of 0 is 3.
Okay.
All good? Okay, heading on to part E. E was easy. F was a mess. Let's see what we got. All right, so E, just doing a nice, easy quotient rule. So for E, what do we got? K prime. So K prime of X is equal to, going with the quotient rule, and that would be bottom, derive the top, minus the top, derive the bottom. Derive the bottom is 2 over bottom squared. Okay, and into that, we're just tossing in 0. So that's going to give me 5. F prime is 0. I know that in the box. That's -1. Minus F is 0. That's opening paragraph. 3 times 2, put a 0 in, over 5 squared. And as far as I'm concerned, you're done. Figure it out if you want, but they would absolutely give you credit for that. Okay. Any questions on E? All right, we're going to need a fresh piece of paper for part F. All right, so let's just read it real quick. Let's make a plan and then we'll talk about it. Consider the differential equation. dy dx is equal to that mess. Let y equal h of x be a particular solution. So here's the thing. You know how this problem works, kind of, right? You know you're going to split the variables, integrate both sides, find c, yada, yada, yada. All right, once you do that, you know the ending of this is let's solve it for y. So let's just assume you get through everything, you solve it out, y is equal to, stuff, whatever. It's telling you y is equal to h of x. So the answer to the question is the same thing as saying h of x. Once you solve this out, y equals 2x, same thing as h of x equals 2x. And then it says to find h of 2. So translation, do your normal differential equation problem. Once you solve for y, you've got that equation, plug 2 into it. That's what they're asking you to do. So give me a second. Let me copy this down, and then I'm going to turn the screen share off so that we can look at it better. And the point they give us to use, by the way, is 0, 1 whenever we need that point. All right, so here you go. Here's what we got. All right, so I would like you guys, do you need more time to do this? Did you get it? What do we think about this problem? I don't want to just do it all for you. What do you think here? How do we do?
I mean, it took me a really long time, but I think I got it.
All right, so what's your first
So-
step here? What are we doing?
You want to separate it.
So what
So
do I
I got the integral of 1 over 3 minus 2y dy equals the integral of f double prime of x dx.
Yep,
And
All right,
then sorry, you.
you're good. Keep going.
No, I don't want to keep going. I don't think
Keep going.
I don't feel very confident.
Well, that's fine. Let's find out how you did. I'll correct you. When you mess up, I'll tell you. Keep going.
Okay, so then I did U substitution on the side. So then the U was 3 minus 2y, du was negative 2 dy, and then dy was negative du over 2. And then, so I did the integral of 1 over u times negative du over 2 equals the integral of f double prime of x.
Okay, so the only thing I did different was I just took it out front for you, but that's what you described already. So
Yeah,
far,
so that's
so
what
far
I did
so good.
The next step I took out the 1/2.
Okay.
And then I think I skipped a couple steps here, maybe. Maybe I actually don't. Yeah, I think I did, but I went right away to ln of like 3 minus 2y.
Yeah, that's fine. So you have
equals-
negative 1/2 out front, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so yes, natural log of u, but no problem if you just recognize what you're doing and plug it in immediately. So natural log of 3 minus 2y is equal to?
F prime of x plus c.
Perfect.
Okay, now I have to go to the back side of this paper.
Mhm.
And so then I worked to get y. So I got negative ln of 3 minus 2y over 2 equals f prime of x plus c.
All right, I don't know about that step, but okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Why did you do that was my first question.
Well, because I saw the 1/2 out in front of the ln.
What do we
no,
got to solve?
so-
What do we got to solve for here though?
C,
Okay, so what do we have to plug a point in, right?
right?
So you didn't do anything wrong. I'm just saying you're just doing more work, right? So like all you need to, because like look what happens. The point is 0, what is it? 0, 1, or is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so if we plug 0, 1 in, check it out. You can just leave everything. So it's negative half natural log. When I put a 1 in, that gives me 1, and that's going to be f prime of 0. So all I did was toss in 0, 1.
Okay.
And then when you do that, you didn't even, that means you didn't need to clean it up because natural log of 1 is what?
0.
And from the problem, we knew f prime of 0, you can get that off the table. F prime of 0 is equal to what?
Negative 1, I believe.
So then if we solve this out, we can come up with c is equal to 1. So let's go with that. And then, all right, so if we plug that in, now we've got negative 1/2 natural log of 3 minus 2y is equal to f prime of x plus 1. Okay, now what?
That's where I would probably do like the log e.
You could. Now this is where you can get rid of, you have options here. There's not like a right and a wrong way. It's just preference. So we got to get rid of this at some point. I always say to just solve for the log thing. So we're trying to solve for y. Y is trapped inside a natural log. Before we start playing around with natural log, I would multiply both sides by -2. And that would give you natural log of 3 minus 2y is equal to negative f prime of x minus 1. Okay. All right. So now what did you do with your natural log? Change it to what?
The log and then e.
Yeah. So here, I'm just going to do this. The more comfortable you get with it, well, I guess that's not true. You should probably write it out. log E 3 minus 2y is equal to negative f prime of x minus 1. Yeah, make sure you write this out. I was about to scribble over this, and then that's not good. You want to show each step because they're all worth points. So don't do that. Yes.
I'm sorry. Don't you have to multiply the other side of the equation by 2?
Sure did. Fixed. And fixed. Thank you. I just did a negative sign. -2, not -1. So what he just said was it's multiplying by -2. So -2 f prime of x minus 2. All right. Okay, Helen, so now what?
So then you would get you would get e to the power of -2 f prime of x minus 2 equals the 3 minus 2y.
Yep. Now what?
Yeah, see, this is where I think I messed up. So
Oh no, you did all this good calculus. Don't mess up now.
then would you plug in here or would you
I'm
okay.
just trying to solve for y.
Okay, so then you would do -3 on both sides and then divide by 2 or
You
negative
could
2.
divide. You could definitely could. Nothing wrong with that. Easier way. Move that piece to the left. Move that piece to the
Okay.
right.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
at least because now we're looking at 2y is equal to 3 minus e to the -2 f prime of x minus 2. And then your last step is going to be to divide this by 2. So that's going to be y is equal to 3 minus e to the -2 f prime of x minus 2. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions up to that point? Okay, now they made a
Would the-
statement. Oh, go ahead.
Would the answer of y be e minus, or sorry, 3 minus e, everything divided by 2? Or does that just go away?
Yeah, I'm having trouble focusing tonight, huh?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, divide by 2. Thanks. All right. Well, they made a statement at the beginning of this problem, and that statement was y is equal to h of x. So my next move here is going to be to rename this h of x is equal to 3 minus e to the -2 f prime of x minus 2 divided by 2. And now they ask us to specifically find h of 2. So h of 2 is equal to 3 minus e to the -2 f prime of 2 minus 2 over 2. And we need to go look up f prime of 2. Somebody that has this assignment open or somebody that did it. What's f prime of 2?
That's 1.
Positive 1?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 3 minus e to the -2 minus 2, that's -4 over 2. You would get credit for that right there. The way it's written in the answer guide is like this. Means the same thing. Either way, that would be correct. So if we take a look here, any questions on that first off?
I have a super quick question. So I got that answer kind of, but it was like flipped. So like I got e to the -4 minus 3 over -2. I don't know if that works.
Say that again. What was it?
Mine was basically a flipped answer. Mine was e to the -4 minus 3 over -2.
Same. That's the same. That means the same
Okay.
thing. If every symbol you read is the opposite, like your e to the -4
Right,
was
exactly.
positive, your 3 was. If all 3 things are all, however many things are all opposite symbols, that just means you pulled stuff in a different direction when you were doing your algebra, but it would be equivalent.
Okay, got it.
So you'd be fine. All right, I will show you real quick here. Let's see, do I have this? Yeah. Here's the scoring guide provided from College Board on this particular. They call this a mock exam. Now, again, this was for 2020 because this is a 6-part question. So they were saying that last year, this problem modeled one of the 2 mock questions that was given last year. So truthfully, guys, this pulls skills from all different directions in this problem. So you were doing quotient rules, mean value theorem, differential equations, all sorts of stuff. So U-Substitution. So here, I'll show you from the beginning. Here was their answer. All they did was just show the slope and say that's what f double prime was equal to. They didn't even really get into the explanation. You are going to get into the explanation though, because that can always be a point. Here is their Riemann sum. At the end of the day, you just need to show the multiplications. You don't have to get to the answer is 20. You'll be okay. Oh, did they ask for increasing and decreasing? Apparently we went too quick. It would be an over approximation or an overestimate. You guys know how to do that. For part C, here is the U-Substitution. They go through. Here was the answer we had was 3/2. Did someone say something?
Yeah. So the right Riemann sum always results in an over approximation.
No, that's not. No, that's not true. Hold on. So it depends on the function increasing or decreasing. So if I tell you, let's look at 2 functions. If I give you this one, or if I give you that one. So if I do a right Riemann sum, 1, 2, 3. If I do a right Riemann sum on this one,
Yeah.
definitely got overs on that one, no problem. If I do a right Riemann sum on this one, though, that one's going to land under.
Okay, I got it.
So it depends on what's going on with the function. So if it's going to be an over, you would say, and then your justification is it's because the function's increasing or decreasing. So this one is, it's an over approximation because the function is increasing. And you figure out that it's increasing just by looking at the table values. The y values are getting bigger as you go. So that makes it increasing. Whereas if the y values are getting smaller, then you can say it's decreasing, right?
Got it.
Here's the craziness that was the L'Hopital's rule problem. I don't know how they would grade that truthfully, but I'm not a College Board grader, but because that was just stuff happening everywhere. But at the end of the day, here's that answer. It was 8/4, which is 2, and I showed you how to get there. For part E, we talked about a quotient rule. No problem. And then for the last one, we did the differential equation. And give me 1 sec, guys. I'm sorry. And then for the last one, here is your differential equation and all of the craziness that went along with that one. All right. So any questions on A, B, C, D, E, F? Okay. So here is the plan. Today's Monday. So we're going to just keep doing stuff. We'll keep working at things on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday. And then after that, you're on spring break. So here's my plan. Don't yell at me, hopefully. So I'm not giving you anything for homework tonight or tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday. But you're off for like 10 days over spring break. So I can't make you do this. It's spring break. I'm not allowed to assign anything and you're not even in my class anymore. So it's kind of whatever. But I was hoping to leave you with a full cover to cover mock AP exam for spring break. And those take about 3.5 hours to take. And you don't have to do it in one sitting. You can do it however you want. But I'm going to give you the time limits. It's 4 sections. So you would take 30 multiple choice questions, 15 multiple choice questions, 2 FRQ, 4 FRQ, and you would just receive basically a 30-page PDF file, and it's all sitting there for you. So you can time it out for yourself, do it however you want. But the 30-question multiple choice takes 60 minutes. And that's without a calculator. 15 multiple choice, you get 45 minutes. With a calculator, you're going to have some questions on that section. We'll go over them after break. 2 FRQs with a calculator, 4 FRQs without. That's 30 minutes, 60 minutes. So you can see it's a little over 3 hours. You definitely don't have to do it all in one sitting, but my plan is for you guys to take that over spring break. You got 10 days. And then when you come back from spring break, we'll spend that next week going through everything you did. We'll give you a score on it, give you a score, see how you would have done if that was the real one. And that'll start to get us ready for the real AP exam. When you come back from break, it's going to be into April. That'll be the home stretch, about 3-4 weeks left, and then we're all done. Okay. So that's all I got for tonight. Any questions? All right, cool. Have a good night, guys. I will talk to you later.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you,
Baker.
Mr. Baker. Bye. Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Got it. See ya.